Good morning and welcome to the fourth hour. It's great to have you along, and there are several of you here already this morning. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. Let's get underway because I absolutely detest wasting your time. Let's start by looking at what's going on right now. Washington Examiner this morning. I'm going to share a number of headlines, not necessarily dive into all of the stories, but headlines. Tim Walz repeatedly hosted a Muslim cleric who celebrated October 7th and shared a pro-Hitler website. That's the above the fold story at the Washington Examiner this morning. Now, this one really interested me. Former Biden advisor pins blame for his resignation on Democrats and journalists. Okay, let's take a look at that. And actually, it's Anita Dunn. Is Anita Dunn a transgender? Maybe they're using him as anyway, the Anita Dunn, a former senior advisor to Joe Biden, thought his June 27th debate performance wasn't the reason for the end of his campaign. The nightmare event would have been salvageable, Dunn said, but the media's reaction and the way Democrats turned on him and pressured him to abandon seeking reelection was what tipped him over the edge. Biden dropped out of the presidential race. She said, well, she told Politico, it was a bad debate, but it didn't feel catastrophic at all, certainly in terms of voters. This campaign had been fairly static for a long time, and the debate didn't change that. What did change, it was 24 days of unremitting negative, horrible attacks on Joe Biden from his own party and from the press. Yeah, the media just, I mean, they showed what they were all about. They just really went after Joe Biden, and Democrats the same way. Democrats were coming to him and telling him privately, you got to get out. And Nancy Pelosi reportedly, she's denying this, but I don't believe a thing she says anyway. Nancy Pelosi reportedly told him, either he was going to get out or they were going to take steps to remove him, So it was either hit the road, Jack, or but we are moving on. So these are some of the top stories this morning at the Washington Examiner. Let's go over to the New York Post. And this is troubling. The New York Post obviously gives a lot of coverage to events that are going on in New York. And so a female New York police officer left bloodied after she's punched in the face by a repeat offender. And there are photos of her holding on to a passerby with blood running out of her nose. And literally, she is almost on her knees holding on to this guy who was assisting her. Really crazy. So this is a 41-year-old man who slugged this officer in the face when she tried to intervene during an argument between this man and a group of kids. So this 41-year-old guy's in an argument with a bunch of kids. She's trying to break it up, and he hauls off and slugs that's life in New York City. Oh, wow. Yeah, I want to pack my bags and move as far away from there as possible. All right, let's see if they've got anything else. I don't know if they got anything else at the New York Post this morning. Naked gun. Armed teacher saves girl from being sexually assaulted outside of his home. I saw this earlier this morning. So this guy was naked he ran outside, grabbed his gun, ran outside to confront the attacker. He wasn't quite naked. I think he's wearing his underwear as he runs outside. This girl crying, I'm 15, help me. It's a quick thinking middle school teacher from Texas, actually, is where this story is coming from. He's being hailed as a hero, grabbed his gun. The assailant followed the teen into a gated apartment complex after she got off the bus. And that's when David Garza heard the girl screaming for help outside of his apartment. He said, I looked out the window, saw a man beating up a woman on the ground, trying to take her clothes off. So he grabbed his gun, ran outside to confront the attacker, and there's security footage of this. It shows this. And he said the suspect had the girl by the hair, and he said, I ran outside, asked what was going on. The girl screamed, I'm 15, help me. I pointed the gun at him and told him to get off of her and screamed at him repeatedly a number of times, get away from her. Hey, come here, he says. So it was quite a scene. I don't know whether there was an arrest here. Man, I hate these pop-ups. I would love to get rid of pop-ups. Like Batman toys popping up. I'm in the middle of something. Now's not the time for Batman toys. I know you thought any time was time for Batman toys because you've seen my collection. No, not anytime. I don't know that there's any more from this, but that's a pretty amazing story. All right, let's go over to Newsmax. Microsoft. Iranian hackers are targeting the U.S. election. This is a piece at Newsmax. And again, this is coming from Microsoft. Hold on. I'm getting audio. Iran is accelerating online activity that appears intended to influence the U.S. election. According to Microsoft, they said this today. Iranian actors have also spent recent months creating fake news sites and impersonating activists, laying the groundwork to stoke division and potentially sway Americans this fall, especially in swing states. So these are findings in Microsoft's newest threat intelligence report detailing what's going on with Iran. That's more than a little bit troubling. It's like it's bad enough as it is. I mean, you know what I mean? With the legacy media and the nonsense they're covering and the fact they hide stories. And so you got the legacy media, which is a constant, I think, some have called the legacy media an enemy of the people. And I don't go quite that far, but I understand why they feel that way, So not only do you have the legacy media tainting the news, then you've got all these bad actors that are out there, Iran, and trying to cook up more trouble. Oh, great. Just what we needed. All right. Let's go over to Breitbart, see what they're reporting at Breitbart today. Donald Trump tells Breitbart News that Kamala's Russia-Ukraine policy could lead to World War III. And Trump saying he'll solve the crisis before I get to the White House after I'm president-elect. Let's click on that. I want to get a few more details. So this is an exclusive interview that Trump had with Breitbart last night. And he said he intends to negotiate peace between Russia and Ukraine as president-elect, and he will do it before he's even sworn in. This was an hour-long interview with Breitbart News. Hour long? How'd they get Trump to stop talking after an hour? I think that's the question that I have. How'd they get? And I love Donald Trump, as you know. I have been wondering whether it's time to go back to this. So I'm a lover of Donald Trump, right? But an hour-long interview, how'd they get him to stop? Anyway, Trump said, I want to see it settled. I want to get it done. Trump said that he knows that Vladimir Putin and the president of Ukraine, he knows them. He says he believes he can negotiate peace to end the death and destruction if he's elected. Trump said, I know both heads of the countries. I know President Putin very well. I want to see the death stopping. There's death and there's destruction. They are destroying the whole fabric of a certain part of the world. I want to get it negotiated and get it done. So Trump then said of Kamala Harris, she will keep the war going. She will keep flowing hundreds of billions in American tax dollars into Ukraine rather than ending it. He says Harris will do nothing. And he said because of her inaction, millions of people will die. And he said, I don't think she has any clue. She wouldn't handle it at all. He told Breitbart. This is a Breitbart exclusive. I don't think she'd do anything. I think it would just go on and millions of people will die. Could evolve into a world war also. She's got no capability to get it done. I want to get it done. I've always had a very good relationship with both men, and I think I'm in a very good position. It would have been easier to get done. It would have never started if I were there. He's saying if he had been president, been reelected, it never would have started, Trump said. So again, you can read more on that this morning at Breitbart. That's an exclusive interview that they had with Donald Trump. And this story caught my eye. Tim Walz has been accused of stolen valor since his very first run for Congress, says Breitbart. So this is going back to 2006, according to a report from CNN. And they reported on this. Wall served in the Minnesota Army National Guard, retired at the rank of Master Sergeant or an E8. However, on his official website bio, he lists a rank higher than he served at for a short period that ultimately was rescinded because he did not complete all of the requirements to serve at that rank, which is exactly what happened. So he was there. All he had to do was, they're about 2 years. I mean, it's about a 2-year period to become a command sergeant major. It's a really serious position and obligation, and he did not complete what he needed to do to become a command sergeant major. And yet on his websites and so on, he's been listing himself as command sergeant major. So after reports question about his use of rank, the Kamala Harris campaign changed their website's official biography of Walz by removing its reference to him as a retired command sergeant major, only noting that he once served as a command sergeant major. Yeah, he did. He did serve as a command sergeant major. He did not retire as a command sergeant major. You understand that difference? I know it's a bit. So now again, this is going back a number of years. Multiple letters to his local paper in Mankato accused him of making misleading statements about his service, including whether he had served in Iraq or Afghanistan. He found the accusation serious enough that he personally responded to them both. At issue were political ads and so on, statements on his website. So, Democrats lying. Did you see that coming? Wow, that's kind of hit me from nowhere. The Democrats are out there lying. All right. Let's see what's going on over at the Post Millennial. Headlines there this morning. Salt Lake Tribune journalist fired after offering to buy sexually explicit books for high schoolers. What the hell is wrong with people? I mean, I ask myself that 20 times a day. What the hell is wrong with people? It's crazy. This story is what really interested me. Tulsi Gabbard, you remember her? Excuse me. My darn medications do that to me every morning. Gets better as the day wears on, so I apologize for the coughing. It's just my blood pressure meds that do that. Um, Biden-Harris administration facing a lawsuit after putting Tulsi Gabbard on the terror watch list. What? What is this? So I'm trying to see where this story is. Jordan Sekulow, the executive director of the American Center for Law and Justice, said in his statement that the Biden-Harris administration is once again unconstitutionally targeting conservatives for their political views. And he said the alarming abuse of power represents yet another example of government overreach and the erosion of our constitutional rights. We are preparing major legal action against the Biden-Harris deep state over this unconstitutional targeting of an American for her political speech. Now, remember, Tulsi Gabbard was the representative from Hawaii, who was a Democrat, and wound up leaving the Democrat Party. Did not become a Republican, but she left the Democrat Party. And I got to tell you, I respect Tulsi Gabbard because of her outspokenness and her ability to, and it's you could make the case that it was kind of a shame that she wound up having to leave the Democrat Party. But like a lot of Democrats, and I talked about this, she just felt the party had left her. The party has moved so far to the left that she's like, wow, what's going on? And you've got a growing number of Democrats who are saying that kind of stuff. And I hope we see more Democrats who realize that the Democrat Party, what it is today, this is not the Democrat Party that my dad grew up, supporting. It's an entirely new animal, and they just move further and further to the left. Kamala Harris is proof of that. Tim Walz is proof of that. I just think there's going to be a lot of things involving Tim Walz that is going to haunt the Harris-Walz campaign. We'll see. And then I mentioned this on the air this morning, and it's just blew me away, this new footage showing local police. These are these are Butler, Pennsylvania police who are responding to, they were responding to the shooting attempt, the assassination attempt of Donald Trump. And the new footage is showing these local police then expressing their frustration with the Secret Service. And that's incredible. And again, I mentioned this on the air this morning, but it's absolutely worth repeating in case you missed it. This body cam footage was reviewed by the Wall Street Journal. In it, an officer told other local police, again, he's talking to other police from Butler, Pennsylvania. And he said, now he's talking about the Secret Service. And he says, I effing told them that they needed to post guys effing over here. I told them that effing Tuesday, he said. Now keep in mind, he told them Tuesday. The shooting was on Saturday. So he told them they needed to post people over there. And then we heard that nonsense about, Secret Service had people up there, but it was too hot. So the roof was too hot. They got down. That nonsense. One of the things that just frankly shocks me is that there has not been more ongoing, relentless coverage of that. And part of it, I think, is because the country is just on fire. You've got one major catastrophe fire after another. And how do you keep up with all of that? And then the fact that the media is just completely in the tank for this administration. They refuse to cover this. Now, again, I would want to see the same kind of coverage if it were not a Republican who had been shot at, if it had been Joe Biden who had been shot at. God forbid. I'm not hoping for that. I don't want to see any Democrat. I don't want to see somebody on the rooftops taking shots and then learning that Secret Service allowed the whole thing. Whether it's Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Donald Trump, or Joe Biden, that's deeply troubling to me as an American. Forget about being a Republican or a Democrat or an independent. Just being an American, this stuff is just incredibly bothersome. But the media, they're just, they're content to have their morning coffee and, continue to just bag on Trump rather than, it's like, I find it incredible that these people then just, what do they do all damn day? I mean, seriously, what are these folks doing? I just don't get it. Hey, I want to get to some of your comments, and I know I appreciate it. I want to let you know I have since also, I'm making a change on today so that as folks watch, I got a number of people who watch this later. So very small number of folks who are viewing. But you got to start somewhere. So that's what we're doing. But I want them to see your comments if they watch the video after it's over. I want them to see your comments. So these will show up on the replays. So I want to thank all of you. We'll start with Steve Marino, who's here every day. Yeah, I'm uncertain how anyone would want to live or visit the sewer that New York City has become. Absolutely. And I talked about this a little bit in regard to Minneapolis, about being in Minneapolis and that comic book shop I mentioned, going there because I'm such a nerd. So I, go to this comic book shop. And the last time we were there was some months after the riots. And I said, you know what? Never need to come back. With respect to them, I've since ordered via mail from them. So I want to support them. But you know what? Have no need to go back following that. It was just really kind of devastating. David said, a couple of years ago, I drove around New York City, not through it. Don't blame you. Steve also said it's debatable if any of the money going to Ukraine actually gets there. I believe it's being pocketed by a select few. Yeah, I'm concerned about that as well. And this administration's push and the money they're funneling into Ukraine, I'm increasingly concerned about that. Because here's the thing, I don't trust the Democrat Party at all. I mean, I do not trust today's Democrat Party. I do, and what they're up to and what they're doing. And I would rather that money stayed here in this country, and we're going to need it, boys and girls. I mean, given the millions of people that we have allowed to come in, with the borders are just wide open, you're allowing people to come in. We're going to need that money a lot more than Ukraine is going to need it to fight Russia. And the question then about Trump and that Breitbart story, and read the details there. I appreciated what Trump was saying about that. He thinks he would be able to come together and resolve that whole thing. What are your thoughts on that? You can email me, of course, anytime. greg.belfrage@kelo.com is my email address. So Steve said of Tulsi Gabbard, calling Tulsi a conservative is a stretch. She's just not a wacko far leftist. Yeah, I got to agree with that. Absolutely. I don't think she's conservative either. I've listened to her at length. And at times, I mean, she's just not nuts. And that alone is refreshing, It's like, I think that could be a campaign slogan if you're running for Congress, you know? I'm not nuts. I'm like, I might want to take a look at that person. I mean, if it's indeed true, um, not being nuts, it's just a bit crazy. So, I'm going to leave it there for this morning. I want to thank you so much for joining me. Please hit that like button because it makes a difference. And more of you, especially who are watching the fourth hour, are hitting the like button. So thank you very much. I appreciate it. So hit that like button. Tell your friends if you got like-minded friends, and we'll be back again on Monday. So long until next time, my friend, and may God bless.